Some days start off so normally that you'd never guess they were about to shatter your life. The sun rises the same way. The coffee machine gurgles its familiar rhythm. Your child giggles at a cartoon. Your partner hums while cooking breakfast. Everything feels ordinary, mundane even until it isn't. That's what the morning of Kevin's death felt like. It was a Tuesday. A bright, crisp morning in late September. The kind where you notice the leaves have started to turn just slightly. The kind of day that whispers that fall is coming but hasn't quite arrived. Kevin was in his usual spot, standing barefoot in the kitchen, spatula in hand, wearing his ridiculous grill sergeant apron that he insisted on wearing even when he wasn't grilling. Dinosaurs again? I teased, leaning on the counter as he flipped a pancake shaped like a T-Rex. They're Lily's favorite, he said with a grin. And besides, I'm getting better. Look at this guy, he actually has arms. From the hallway, our 8-year-old daughter Lily ran in wearing a blue hoodie with sparkles on the sleeves and mismatched socks. Is that a triceratops? She asked, pointing with glee. Kevin leaned down, mock whispering. It was supposed to be a stegosaurus, but don't tell your mom. I rolled my eyes with a smile and packed her lunch. Peanut butter and jelly, crusts cut off, apple slices, and 2 animal-shaped cookies because it was art show day and she'd worked so hard on her clay project. Kevin kissed us both on the forehead as he headed toward the door. Don't forget the maple syrup, he called out. The real stuff. None of that corn syrup, imposter. I laughed. Got it, Captain Syrup. Those were the last words he ever said to me. At 10:47 a.m. my phone rang. I had just sat down with my laptop to work remotely, coffee still warm in my hand. The call was from Amanda, Kevin's assistant. My stomach dropped before I even answered. Rachel, she stammered, her voice trembling. Kevin collapsed during a client meeting. The ambulance just arrived. They're taking him to Northwestern Memorial. For a moment I couldn't move. My body froze. The coffee cup slipped from my hands and shattered on the tile. My ears rang with Amanda's words. Kevin. Collapsed. Ambulance. I scrambled. I texted my neighbor Ellen in a flurry of panic to ask if she could pick up Lily from school. She responded instantly, yes, of course. I didn't even lock the door. I just grabbed my keys and raced to the car. The drive to the hospital was a blur of tears, traffic lights, and whispered prayers. Please let him be okay. Please. I'll do anything. Just let him be okay. But I was too late. Kevin was pronounced dead at 11:23 a.m. Massive heart attack. The doctors said it was sudden. That nothing could have saved him. That sometimes these things just happen. But that explanation, cold clinical, didn't make it any easier. When I saw him laid out in a hospital bed, I thought maybe, just maybe, he'd wake up. His chest wasn't rising and falling, but his skin was still warm. His face was peaceful. His lips parted slightly as though mid-sentence. Felt wrong. Felt like a mistake. He looks like he's sleeping, I whispered to the nurse. She only nodded, her eyes full of sympathy. But sympathy wasn't what I needed. I needed Kevin. The hours that followed were like living inside a snow globe that had been violently shaken. Everything was swirling. No direction. No order. Just chaos. Paperwork. Signatures. Legal jargon. Funeral arrangements. Cremation or burial? What kind of casket? Which photo for the obituary? Did he have a will? All while I could barely remember to breathe. And then I remembered Lily. Our daughter. The little girl who had waved goodbye to her father that morning with a pancake in one hand and a backpack in the other. The girl whose world was about to change forever. I picked her up from school myself. I needed to be the one to tell her. She ran toward me, her backpack bouncing. Where's Daddy? She asked. He said he'd be at the art show tonight. I pulled over before I even got out of the parking lot. I turned off the car, looked into her bright blue eyes so much like Kevin's, and took her hands in mine. Sweetheart, I said slowly, feeling my throat tighten. Daddy got very sick today. His heart stopped working. She blinked, uncomprehending. Can the doctors fix it? I swallowed hard. No, honey. They tried, but Daddy died today. She stared at me. Her mouth opened slightly. then closed, then opened again. But he made pancakes this morning, she said, her voice cracking. I know, I whispered. I know. The scream that came from her was unlike anything I'd ever heard. It was raw, animal, devastating. She curled into me, sobbing, clutching my shirt, repeating over and over, I want Daddy. I want Daddy. I held her as tightly as I could, rocking her, whispering that I was there, that I wouldn't leave, that we would get through this, even though I had no idea how. That night, she slept in our bed, wrapped in Kevin's unwashed t-shirt, his scent still clinging faintly to the fabric. I watched her breathe, her small body rising and falling beside mine. When she finally fell asleep, I crept into the bathroom, shut the door and collapsed to the floor. I sobbed. Loud, ugly sobs that shook my entire body. I couldn't think, couldn't breathe. Every part of me ached. And in that moment I did what I thought would help. I called my mother. She picked up on the fifth ring. I could hear music and laughter in the background. Rachel, she said cheerfully, can I call you back? We're in the middle of Sophia's birthday dinner. I was silent for a moment, stunned. Then I forced the words out. Kevin died this morning. A pause. Wait, what? He had a heart attack. He collapsed at work. He's gone. Another pause. Then muffled voices. She came back. Oh honey, that's terrible. Are you sure? I blinked in disbelief. I saw his body, Mom. Well, she said, voice still distracted. This is a shock. But sweetie, we've got all the guests here. It's Sophia's 40th birthday. We can come tomorrow when things settle down. I felt the phone slipping from my fingers. Then my father took over. Rachel, this is terrible. But was Kevin's life insurance policy current? You should start making calls first thing in the morning. I didn't respond. I couldn't. I hung up. That night, I received dozens of messages from friends. Some I hadn't spoken to in years. Brian, Kevin's college roommate. Jennifer from work. Even my old friend Taylor from high school. They sent flowers. Brought food. Offered to pick up groceries or watch Lily. Ellen came over and just sat with me at the kitchen table, while I tried to remember how to function. But from my own parents, silence. Nothing but that one call. No visit. No help. No empathy. And I thought that was the worst of it. Until 3 days later they knocked on my door. My father straightened his golf shirt as I opened it. My mother clutched a Tupperware container like she was showing up for book club. We thought we'd check in, she said, stepping past me into the house. Is Lily at school? Good. We can talk openly. That should have been the first red flag. They sat on the couch like royalty, waiting to be served. I, the grieving widow, made them coffee. Because I was still stuck in that daughter role, the one who hosts, who accommodates, who swallows her pain. My father cleared his throat. Rachel, we want to talk to you about your financial situation. I blinked. My what? Now that Kevin is gone, we assume there's a substantial life insurance policy. Your mother and I are getting older. Healthcare isn't cheap. And we think as your parents we should benefit a little. 50% would be fair. I stared at them. You want half of Kevin's life insurance? My mother nodded. You and Lily still have the other half. That's more than enough. I set down my coffee cup. You didn't come when I needed you. You didn't even leave Sophia's party when I told you my husband died. And now you're here asking for money. My father bristled. We raised you, Rachel. We paid for college. Helped with your first home. It's only fair. I stood up slowly. My hands were shaking. Get out. Rachel, be reasonable. Get out of my house. They left in a huff, muttering about how ungrateful I was. How selfish. I collapsed to the floor. Lily's blanket still clutched in my lap. And for the first time I truly understood what betrayal felt like. If grief were a color, it would be gray. Not black like the clothes they tell you to wear to a funeral. Not white like the false comfort of peace. But gray, dull, choking, and endless. That's how it felt in the days leading up to Kevin's funeral. Time blurred. Morning became night. Night became a restless string of moments where sleep evaded me. I floated through those days like a ghost in my own life. I still had to parent, still had to feed Lily, answer the door, return calls, pick out clothes. All while a silent scream buzzed just beneath my skin. Kevin had always been the planner between us. He had everything in order, our will, life insurance, health directives, all neatly filed in our home office. And yet I could barely bring myself to open the cabinet. I didn't want to touch anything that said posthumous. I wanted him back, not his careful preparations. I didn't want the backup plan. I wanted Plan A Kevin alive and cooking pancakes. It was Thomas, Kevin's best friend from law school and our estate attorney, who stepped in. "Rachel, take your time," he told me during one of our brief phone calls. "There's no rush. Everything is secure." Kevin made sure of that. He did. Even in death, Kevin was looking out for us. I spent a lot of those pre-funeral days trying to hold Lily together. She had stopped asking for Kevin by name and had instead become quieter, more internal. She would curl into my side at night and press her small face into my arm, whispering, "If I don't talk about it, maybe he'll come back." I had no idea how to parent through that kind of pain, but I told her what Kevin would have told me. It's okay to feel what you feel. There's no wrong way to miss someone. The night before the funeral, I found her in her room, pulling out a blue dress. "Daddy always said I looked like a princess in blue," she said quietly. I hugged her so tightly I think I startled her. The day of the funeral dawned too bright. The sun shone like it didn't know the world had just ended. I hated that. I wanted clouds, thunder, a world that matched my internal weather. Kevin's service was scheduled for Saturday at 11 a.m. I had insisted on a morning service. Kevin was a morning person. He used to say mornings were full of promise. Ellen drove us to the funeral home. I don't remember the drive. I just remember Lily's hand in mine, her tiny fingers squeezing every time someone walked past our car. She was scared and I couldn't fix it. We arrived an hour early to greet people. Kevin's colleagues were the first to show. Tall men in black suits, women in dark dresses with red-rimmed eyes. His assistant Amanda came with her husband and immediately wrapped me in a tearful hug. She handed Lily a letter Kevin had written for her birthday, next month. I didn't open it. I couldn't. Friends from college, clients from his firm, even a barista from the local cafe Kevin loved came by. Everyone had a story. He helped me refinance my home. He stayed late to make sure I understood my investments. He always said hello to my dog. They cried. They hugged us. They asked if we needed anything. They showed up. And my parents? They texted 20 minutes before the service started. Running late. Traffic is rough. When they finally arrived, it was just as the service was beginning. My father wore a blazer I'd seen him wear to golf tournaments. My mother was overdressed in a way that screamed photo op, and Sophia, my sister, walked in last, her phone in hand, tapping away. They made a scene finding their seats in the front row. I hadn't wanted to reserve it for them, but tradition said family sits up front. Now I regretted it. They sat stiffly, eyes dry, expressions pinched. Kevin's brother, Marcus, had flown in from Japan and arrived just hours before. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. He sat next to Lily and held her hand the entire time. Their identical blue eyes were mirrors of pain. When it came time for the eulogy, my hands shook. I didn't know if I could do it. But I saw Lily sitting there in her blue dress and I found strength. I told them about Kevin's laugh, how it filled a room. About his irrational hatred for cilantro and his obsession with proper maple syrup. About how he learned soccer just to coach Lily's team. I talked about his integrity, his loyalty, and the kind of father and husband he was. I ended with, "He always put family first." And as I said it, I looked at my parents. My mother was dabbing at her eyes, though they were dry. My father had already begun gathering his things. After the service, we held a reception at our house. Kevin had wanted something casual. No stiff church halls, he'd once joked. Feed people. Make them laugh. Let them tell stories about how awesome I was. We tried to honor that. The living room filled with people. Kevin's friends from the firm helped with food. Ellen handled the guest book. Neighbors brought casseroles, muffins, sandwich trays. My parents sat in the center of the room like mournful royalty, accepting condolences with dramatic sighs. They didn't lift a finger to help. Sophia scrolled through her phone most of the time. My father was overheard telling my Uncle James, "Kevin must have had a sizable insurance policy. Rachel and Lily will be set for life." I nearly vomited. Kevin's parents, Diana and Robert, however, were the opposite. Diana took Lily under her wing, making sure she ate and shielding her from overwhelming guests. Robert organized cleanup, washed dishes, took out trash, all quietly without being asked. Marcus barely left my side. He checked in constantly, offered to stay, insisted that he'd fly back again soon if I needed him. The contrast was so stark I felt like I was living in a social experiment. Who shows up when it really counts? Kevin's family did. Mine didn't. That night, after the last guest left, I stood in the doorway holding Lily as she fell asleep in my arms. The house was silent, but my mind wasn't. I was exhausted, grieving, angry, and scared. That's when I found the envelope. It was in the file cabinet where Kevin kept all our important papers. Labeled Rachel. If anything happens. With trembling hands I opened it. Inside was a letter. Dated 3 months earlier. In Kevin's handwriting. My dearest Rachel. If you're reading this, then the worst has happened. I'm so sorry. I didn't tell you how concerned I was after my last physical. The doctor didn't sound worried, but something in me knew I needed to be prepared. I've updated everything. Our will, Lily's trust, insurance. You and Lily are the sole beneficiaries. It's all detailed in the folder. I didn't want to worry you. I wanted to believe I'd have decades more with you. But just in case, I had to make sure you're protected. There's something else I need you to know. Your father approached me twice in the last year about investment opportunities. Both were thinly veiled requests for money. I declined politely. I didn't want to cause friction. But Rachel, please don't let them manipulate you. That money is for Lily. For you. For the life we dreamed of. I love you more than anything. And I believe in you. Kevin. I sank to the floor, clutching the letter to my chest. Kevin knew. He had seen it even before I did. The next morning I called Thomas and told him everything. He reassured me the will was airtight. That Lily's trust couldn't be touched. That my parents had no legal claim. But it wasn't legal threats I feared. It was emotional ones. I didn't have to wait long. 2 days later my parents returned. This time they didn't pretend it was a social call. We've been thinking, my father began, sitting at the kitchen table like it was a board meeting, about your future. About our future. He slid a printed document across the table. A proposal, he said. I looked at it. It detailed a distribution plan for Kevin's life insurance. 50% to my parents. 15% to Sophia. They even included projected dollar amounts. I stared at it, then looked up. You want 65% of Kevin's insurance money? It's only fair, my mother said. We've supported you for years. We helped with college. Your first house. Sophia's struggling. We thought this would be a way to balance things. Balance. As if my husband's death was some cosmic accounting error they now intended to fix. You weren't there when I called you after Kevin died, I said. You didn't come until the funeral started. You didn't help. You didn't ask about Lily. You don't get a cent. My father's face hardened. You're being emotional. Yes, I said. I am. Because my husband died. And all you care about is money. My mother sniffed. We're your parents. We deserve respect. No, I said. You deserve honesty. And here it is, you failed me when I needed you most. And now you're trying to profit from my pain. Lily, who had been listening from the stairs, walked in holding a manila envelope. I have something, she said softly. She handed the envelope to my father. Inside was a handwritten note in Lily's careful print. Bill for love and support. Being here when Daddy died $0. Not provided. Helping Mommy when she cried $0. Not provided. Comforting me $0. Not provided. Being good grandparents priceless. Not provided. Total $0. The room fell silent. My father looked stunned. Lily looked up at me. Can we go now, Mommy? I nodded. As we walked out, I felt something I hadn't in days. Strength. And Kevin's voice in my heart, whispering, protect her. Always. After the envelope. After the invoice. After the stunned silence and red-faced indignation, my parents left. And when the front door clicked shut behind them, it was as if a storm had passed through our home, leaving behind a quiet devastation. Lily stood beside me, her hand in mine, her little body tense. Did I do the right thing, Mommy? She asked. I knelt down so we were eye to eye. You were brave, sweetheart. Braver than I ever expected. And Daddy would be so proud of you. She nodded, not entirely reassured, but willing to accept my answer for the moment. Then she wrapped her arms around my neck and held on. That night I lay in bed unable to sleep. My mind was buzzing with emotions. Anger, sorrow, relief, exhaustion. But above all, a single resounding realization throbbed in my chest. I couldn't allow these people, my own parents, to have power over me anymore. Not emotionally. Not financially. Not at all. Kevin had left us with security. He'd worked hard, saved diligently, invested wisely. His foresight meant Lily and I wouldn't be struggling financially. And yet, the greed of others had crept into that peace like a thief in the night. I picked up Kevin's letter again from the nightstand and read it for the 100th time. His handwriting, familiar and comforting, felt like a warm hand on my shoulder. Every word reaffirmed what I had to do next. It was time to draw the line. The next morning after dropping Lily off at school, I made 3 phone calls. First to Thomas, our lawyer. I asked for help drafting a legal statement that clearly detailed who was entitled to what, and made it impossible for anyone to make future claims against Kevin's estate. Second, to a therapist. Not for me, at least not yet, but for Lily. She needed someone to help her process this grief in a healthy way. Someone trained. Someone patient. Someone who wasn't drowning in their own grief. And third, to Marcus. Kevin's brother had returned to Japan after the funeral, but we'd kept in close contact. When I told him what happened, how our parents had reacted, how Lily had stood up to them, there was a long silence on the other end of the line. Then he said, "I'm coming back." "You don't have to do that, Marcus. Really. We're managing." "No," he said firmly. "You shouldn't have to manage alone. Kevin would never have wanted that. I'll talk to my team and take a leave of absence. Give me 2 weeks." I didn't argue. I didn't have the strength to. And the truth? I was grateful. Incredibly, unspeakably grateful. By the end of that week, my parents sent me an email. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't even acknowledgement. It was a calculated attempt at manipulation, dressed in polite language. "Dear Rachel, we are sorry for any misunderstanding that may have occurred during our recent visit. It is never our intention to upset you or Lily. As your parents, we simply want what's best for the family as a whole. Sophia is going through a difficult time financially, and our request came from a place of concern for your collective future. We hope that in time you'll come to see our perspective and allow healing to begin. Family is about compromise, forgiveness, and moving forward. With love, Mom and Dad." I didn't reply. I didn't need to. Instead, I printed the email and filed it alongside the document Thomas and I were drafting. I wasn't planning to sue anyone, but I wasn't going to be caught unprepared again. In the weeks that followed, something remarkable happened. Not with my parents, but with the people around me. Kevin's colleagues began checking in weekly, offering support, errands, meals. Amanda sent a care package for Lily, books, puzzles, and a framed photo of her and Kevin at a firm party, both wearing silly hats. One of his clients, a woman named June, wrote a long letter about how Kevin had helped her recover from her divorce, not just financially but emotionally. "I came to him for help with investments," she wrote, "but what I got was a person who listened, who reminded me that my life wasn't over just because a chapter had closed." Reading it, I wept. Kevin had left behind more than money. He'd left behind goodness, integrity, legacy. Lily started therapy. Her counselor, a gentle woman named Beth, met with her twice a week after school. At first, Lily was shy and withdrawn, answering questions in monosyllables. But one afternoon, Beth came to speak with me while Lily was drawing. "She's processing things faster than I expected," she said. "She's sad, of course, and confused, but she's also incredibly insightful. That letter she wrote your parents." I smiled. "She came up with that all on her own." Beth nodded. "It's a sign of strength and clarity. She's grieving, but she knows what love is. That's powerful." 2 weeks passed. Marcus arrived just as he promised. His presence in our home was like opening a window after a long winter. He brought warmth, energy, and a gentle authority that Lily immediately responded to. She clung to him like a second father. They played board games, watched cartoons, and baked cookies with entirely too much frosting. At night, when I couldn't sleep, Marcus and I would sit in the kitchen drinking tea. We talked about Kevin, about childhood, about regrets, about love. One evening, he looked at me over the rim of his mug and said, "You know, he always thought the world of you. Said you were the bravest person he'd ever met." I blinked away tears. "I don't feel very brave. Bravery isn't about feeling strong," he said. "It's about doing what's right, even when you feel like you're falling apart." And then one day my mother showed up. No warning. No call. Just her standing at the doorstep in a beige coat, clutching a tin of cookies. Marcus answered the door. Her face tightened. "I'd like to see my daughter. And my granddaughter." I heard the conversation from the hallway and stepped into view. Marcus glanced at me. I nodded. "I'm here," I said. "But Lily's at school. And I don't think this is the time." "I made cookies," she said, holding up the tin like a peace offering. I stared at it. "You tried to take away her future. I don't want your cookies." She looked hurt. "Rachel, I made a mistake. We made a mistake." "No," I said firmly. "You made a choice. And you stood by it. That's not a mistake. That's character." "I'm your mother," she whispered. "And I'm a mother now too," I said. "My job is to protect Lily, even if that means protecting her from you." She didn't argue. She didn't cry. She simply nodded, turned around, and left. Weeks turned into months. The seasons shifted. Snow fell. Lily turned 9. We celebrated with a quiet dinner, a homemade cake, and a candlelit moment where we told stories about Kevin. Life began to rebuild itself. Not in the way it was before. That was gone. But in a new way. A real way. One morning I woke up and realized I hadn't cried in 3 days. Then a week. Then longer. Healing doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean the pain disappears. It means learning how to live around it. To carry it with grace. To let it shape you without breaking you. And then one day I got a letter. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name. I opened it cautiously. "Rachel, I owe you the apology I should have made long ago. I've spent these past weeks reflecting, and what I see is not easy to face. You were right. We were wrong. I let my pride, my fear, and yes, my selfishness blind me to your grief. I wanted control. I wanted to feel needed. But what you needed was compassion. I failed you. I am not asking for forgiveness. Only the chance to try again, slowly, respectfully, and on your terms. I miss you. And I miss Lily. But I respect your space. Love, Dad." I read it 3 times. Then I tucked it into the drawer beneath Kevin's letter. I didn't know what the future would bring. But I knew this. The line had been drawn. And I wasn't going to erase it. I was moving forward. On my terms. The beginning of real healing doesn't always arrive with a bang. Sometimes it comes in the form of a quiet Saturday morning, a cup of tea gone cold on the kitchen table, and the laughter of a child playing in the next room. It sneaks in slowly, subtly, weaving itself into the moments you once thought would always hurt. After months of grief, confrontation, and rebuilding boundaries, I began to notice the shift. It didn't happen all at once, but little by little life began to take on a different hue. Not the vibrant brightness it had with Kevin, but not the endless gray of morning either. It was something in between. Something livable. Marcus had extended his leave and was staying in the guest room. He'd turned into something between a roommate, an uncle, and a co-parent. Lily adored him. They had developed their own rituals, pancake Sundays, Tuesday trivia night, and a weekly tradition they called Memory Monday, where they each shared a favorite story about Kevin. One Monday night, Lily curled up in Marcus's lap on the couch. "Daddy used to make up bedtime stories about a dragon named Momo," she said. "Momo always got into trouble but had the biggest heart." "I remember Momo," Marcus said. "Kevin told me once that Momo was based on how he saw himself as a kid." Lily giggled. "Then Daddy must have been really clumsy." Marcus and I exchanged a smile, the kind born from mutual sorrow and deep affection. Kevin's memory was becoming something warm again. Not a knife, not a wound, but a place we could visit without falling apart. I had been avoiding my parents' letter. My father's apology, though heartfelt, had come wrapped in years of pain and disappointment. But part of me, a small hesitant part, believed that maybe they were trying. I didn't want Lily to grow up in an echo chamber of bitterness. I didn't want to model cold estrangement as the only option when people hurt you. But I also didn't want to throw her back into a situation where she could be hurt again. So I wrote back. Not with an invitation, but with a boundary. Dear Mom and Dad, thank you for your letter. I appreciate the acknowledgement and the time you've taken to reflect. Right now my focus is on rebuilding a safe and loving environment for Lily. That requires me to protect our peace fiercely. If we are to reconnect, it will need to be slow, respectful, and with clear expectations. I am not ready for in-person meetings yet, but I am open to a letter exchange, one per month, to begin understanding one another again. Please know this isn't punishment. It's the best I can offer while honoring our healing process. Rachel. I sent it. Then I waited. In the meantime, something beautiful began to take shape. With Marcus's support and encouragement, I began the early stages of creating something Kevin and I had once only dreamed of, a foundation. We called it the Kevin Morgan Foundation. Its mission was simple: financial literacy and emotional support for single-parent households, especially those recently widowed. Kevin had always believed in lifting others up through knowledge and connection, and this was a way to continue that legacy. At first, it was just an idea scribbled on sticky notes and brainstormed over tea. But Marcus brought structure. I brought passion. And together we started building something real. I met with local nonprofit advisors, contacted legal services, and applied for 501(c)(3) status. Ellen volunteered to help with the paperwork. Amanda connected us with a few of Kevin's former clients who were eager to donate. Our first fundraising event was modest, a bake sale and community workshop at the local library. But the turnout was incredible. People remembered Kevin. They remembered his kindness, his generosity, his ability to make you feel seen. Lily set up a small art table at the event and helped children draw dragons, Momo-themed of course. That night, after we got home, Lily looked up at me as I tucked her into bed. "Mommy, do you think Daddy saw the fundraiser?" I smiled and brushed her hair back from her face. "I think he was there the whole time." A month passed. Then another. My parents wrote back as per our agreement. The letters weren't perfect, but they were different, less defensive, more reflective. They began sharing memories of Kevin, regrets about their absence, hopes for one day making amends with Lily. I didn't respond to each letter, but I read them carefully, and I allowed myself to hope that maybe they were slowly unlearning the habits that had hurt us. Sophia, my sister, also reached out for the first time since the funeral. A simple text. "I've been terrible. I'm sorry. If you're ever ready to talk, I'll be here." No pressure. I stared at it for a long time before responding. "Thank you. That means a lot. I'll let you know when I'm ready." With the foundation gaining momentum, I found myself busier than I had been in months. But it was a good kind of busy, a purposeful kind. I gave workshops on budgeting, debt management, and rebuilding after loss. I spoke at local schools about financial literacy. I started writing a blog about my journey. And to my surprise, it began to attract readers from all over. One afternoon, as I finished responding to a particularly moving email from a widower in Texas, Marcus knocked on my office door. "Got a minute?" "Always," I said, looking up. He stepped inside, holding a framed photo. It was of Kevin, me, and Lily on our last vacation together. Sunburned, smiling, standing in front of a giant sandcastle. "I was thinking," he said, "we should do something. Not just keep going. Celebrate. Not because things are perfect, but because we've come this far." I smiled. "What do you have in mind?" "A day trip. Just us three. Somewhere fun." We picked a lake 2 hours away. Packed a picnic. Brought games, snacks, and music. It wasn't extravagant, but it was magical. Lily chased seagulls, Marcus taught her how to skip stones, and I sat in the sun and watched them laugh. As we drove home, Lily fell asleep in the back seat, and Marcus reached over and gently touched my arm. "You're doing great," he said. For the first time in a long time, I believed it. Grief isn't a straight road. It winds, dips, turns back on itself, and takes detours when you least expect them. But eventually, if you keep walking, it leads you somewhere new. Not to the place you were before, but to a place where you can breathe again, live again, even dream again. That's where Lily and I found ourselves almost a year after Kevin's death. It started on an unusually warm spring morning. Lily was playing in the backyard, barefoot in the grass, her laughter ringing through the open kitchen window. I was making lemon tea, the scent reminding me of the countless mornings Kevin would leave me a steaming cup next to the bed with a sticky note. Love you more than caffeine. I smiled at the memory. It no longer made me cry. Marcus came in from a jog, wiping sweat from his brow. You should come out, he said. Lily's setting up some kind of dragon parade. I laughed. Momo strikes again? You bet. She's recruited 3 squirrels, a garden gnome, and a half-eaten apple as parade dignitaries. Outside, Lily was arranging sidewalk chalk drawings of Momo, the dragon, across the patio. When she saw me, she waved me over excitedly. Mommy, can Momo get his own day? Like a holiday. I knelt beside her. I think that's a fantastic idea. Can we make it official? She asked. And maybe do something kind for people that day like Daddy always did? I blinked back tears. Kevin's legacy wasn't just in the foundation we'd built. It was in the way Lily loved. We declared the first Saturday in May Momo Day. We baked cookies shaped like dragons, painted rocks with encouraging messages, and left them at the local park. We called it our Kindness Parade, and shared it online through the Kevin Morgan Foundation's blog. The response was overwhelming. Messages poured in from families who had followed our story. Some shared their own losses. Others sent pictures of their own Momo-themed activities. What started as a backyard tribute became a small national movement. Schools wrote to us, asking for materials to host their own kindness parades. We even got a feature in a regional parenting magazine, with a smiling Lily holding her Momo plush toy on the cover. Kevin would have been tickled. He always said kindness was contagious if you made it fun. One afternoon, a letter arrived in the mail. Not an email, not a typed note, but a real handwritten letter. It was from Sophia. Dear Rachel, I've watched from afar and stayed silent, mostly because I wasn't sure if I had the right to step back into your life. I was wrong to prioritize my own comfort over your pain. I thought that ignoring your grief would spare me from feeling mine. But all it did was create a wall I now desperately want to take down. I miss my niece. I miss my sister. And I miss the chance to be better. If you're open to it, I'd love to meet you for coffee. No expectations. Just a beginning. With love and regret, Sophia. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and tucked it into my journal. That night I sat with Marcus and told him about it. You don't owe her anything, he said gently. But if you're ready, you also don't have to carry that door closed forever. I think I'll meet her, I said. But I'm not doing it for closure. I'm doing it because I'm open to something new. The cafe was quiet on Thursday mornings. I picked a table by the window and ordered Kevin's old favorite, an oat milk latte with cinnamon. Felt right. Sophia walked in 10 minutes later. Her eyes looked tired, but her posture was humble. She wore no makeup, no dramatic entrance. Just vulnerability. Hey, she said, sitting across from me. Hi. For a while we just sipped our drinks. Then, like a crack in a dam, the words came. She told me about the guilt she'd carried since the funeral. About how she had watched the videos of our foundation's events with tears in her eyes. About how our parents' behavior had shocked her into reflection. I wanted to make it right, but I didn't know how. You start, I said, by not expecting anything. Just listening. Being honest. I can do that. We talked for an hour. Then 2. When we finally stood up to leave, she asked, could I write to Lily? Nothing heavy. Just something kind. I think she'd like that. And she did. Lily read Sophia's letter at the kitchen table, then asked if she could draw her a picture in return. It was of Momo surrounded by little hearts. My parents, meanwhile, continued their monthly letters. Slowly, awkwardly, they began to change. Less entitled. More introspective. My father wrote about his own father, how he had grown up in a house where men didn't show emotion and grief was hidden. I didn't know how to handle your pain, he admitted. So I tried to fix it. With money. With logic. I see now how deeply wrong that was. I wrote back. I appreciate the honesty. It helps. We're taking small steps. That's all I ask. Eventually, we arranged a meeting neutral, brief, and at a local park. Marcus joined us, as did Beth, Lily's therapist, to offer support. The meeting wasn't magical. It didn't heal everything. But it was civil. Real. And when my mother knelt down and asked Lily if she could read her a book under the big oak tree, Lily looked at me first. I nodded. Then she handed my mother her favorite storybook. And just like that, something small began again. The Kevin Morgan Foundation celebrated its 1-year anniversary in June. We held an outdoor fair with music, games, workshops, and a memorial tribute to Kevin. Lily gave a speech, short, sweet, and completely unprompted. My daddy believed in helping people, she said. And now we help people too. That's how I keep him with me. There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. As the sun set, Marcus handed me a folded piece of paper. From Kevin, he said. I found it in an old email. He sent it to me the night Lily was born. It was a message. Bro, today I became a dad. And I've never been so terrified or so happy. Rachel is amazing. Lily is perfect. I don't know how I got this lucky. Promise me something. If anything ever happens to me, take care of them. Be there. Remind them they're enough. And tell Rachel she's stronger than she knows. But she doesn't always have to be. Kevin. I cried. For the first time in months. But it wasn't pain. It was gratitude. So here we are now. Lily is thriving. The foundation is growing. Sophia and I are rebuilding. My parents are learning. Marcus is family in every way that counts. I've started seeing someone. A gentle, patient man I met through a grief support group. It's early. Delicate. But it feels okay. Feels allowed. Kevin will always be the love of my life. But love, I've learned, is not a finite resource. It expands. It evolves. It honors what was while embracing what is. Grief changed me. But it didn't destroy me. I look around now and see a different kind of family. Not perfect. Not traditional. But real. Chosen. Cherished. And I think Kevin would be proud. We're okay, Kevin. We made it.